Hey. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. And if you are a little worm of a snowflake, and you can't stand to know things, and you have to believe in your own oppression, no, then don't watch the show. And then for everybody else, don't believe a word I say. These guys make good soup. Lobster bisque, New England clam chowder. Woo-wee. Anyway, so where is Dreamy Dreamland? What is Dreamy Dreamland, right? Dreamy Dreamland is a place where the artist in the first person, the indigenous, live. And they may, at some time, be here, right? But they exist. They are. Their presence, their who they are. It's in Dreamy Dreamland. Right? Dreamy Dreamland is where we go when we have REM sleep. We dream, we have visions. But when you're conscious aware and have a conscious intent of being your best, you can exist, in Dreamy Dreamland. Even now, here I am in my office of the elevator music. I'm aware of myself being in Dreamy Dreamland. And that is being, in more than one place at a time. And you can do that. And when you are consciously aware of your 20 and your 360, where you are, what's your 20, where you are. When you're 360, what's around you. Nothing can hurt you. You don't have to worry about stuff. And you can expand not only your awareness, but your presence into conscious awareness I am, conscious awareness I am, conscious awareness I am. Boom. And those are the two mantras you should use. Conscious awareness I am, conscious awareness I am. Boom. And then conscious intent I am, conscious intent I am, conscious intent I am. Boom. And that conscious intent is you being aware of it, right? So, you have a good day, sir. So, you just think about that for a moment.
go to bed tonight, drink a glass of this and surprise your doctor on your next eye exam. I was skeptical it'd work, but then I saw the shocking proof for myself. The Nobel Prize-winning discovery from Dr. Greg Cementa has helped open up a new way to help improve declining eyesight. The study shows that your vision will continue deteriorating with each passing year.
It's almost been 3 months since the start of this special military operation of Russia against Ukraine. In this video, I'll share my thoughts on how I personally fare under the sanctions and under the new normal of living in Russia. I will show you around of how things are looking like. There are 2 things I'd like to show you today. First is the state of current Russian economy, the first signs of the demise. It's been there 3 months, but you can see the first signs of what is coming. The economic tsunami. Now, this part is fairly easy to show. You're going to see it with your own eyes. And the second part is much more difficult because it's personal. It's about me. It concerns what's inside of me, how I'm feeling 3 months into this event. Instead of telling you of how difficult this economical situation is, living under sanctions, bad sanctions are, and so forth, I've decided to show you. So I brought you to a hugely popular shopping mall. It's called Mega Teplый Stan. Well, once hugely popular, not so popular these days. And this is the IKEA, now closed. And this entire shopping mall belongs to IKEA, actually. To show you even more, I've decided to invite a good friend of mine, Russell. He's running a YouTube channel, Traveling with Russell, and he's been witnessing how Russia has been changing for the past 3 months.
Yes. Are you going to ask me questions, or you want me just to talk back? Hi, Konstantin. How's it going?
Pretty good. So you've been witnessing this whole thing, right?
Yes.
Have you been to this particular shopping center before?
Actually, I've been here quite a few times because, as Konstantin pointed out, this is one of our favorite shops, or my wife's favorite shop, IKEA, right behind here. So I've actually lived in Moscow on and off for 9 years. So we've actually been to this place. Actually, most of our apartment is IKEA products, for better or worse. But now, as you can see,
look, the first time I drove to IKEA was back in 2004, and I couldn't find a parking spot. I had to do rounds and rounds and rounds. And the latest I had to do rounds, actually, was around New Year.
Right.
What's yours?
Yeah, so we came here also. We don't actually have a car, so we did car sharing. And we drove out here to buy some items for our apartment.
Anyway, so they're talking about how things are, not doing well in Russia, and that's true. Things aren't doing well here either. And, I get $48 in food stamps, and during the pandemic, I got 200. Now I get 48, and that, I just spent $60. I bought a container of cottage cheese, a container of sour cream, some cream cheese, some bread, and some sausage and some fish. $60. It used to cost that would have cost me $18 back in January. It's not that it's not here; it's here. It's just that's pretty expensive. I'm a guy. That stuff that I bought, I actually use it like seasonings because mostly it is what's in the forest, right? Burdock, dandelions, and elecampane, and a whole bunch of other stuff that's in my forest. But you add a little sour cream to it, butter. Butter makes everything taste better. And that's how I eat. So whenever I buy the soup, it's more or less seasonings, and I don't buy like salt and that kind of stuff right now. But anyway, so it's pretty obvious that the scholastics who me up and wanted to know about this, that, or the other and two boys walk in with their Game Boys, and their brains are in the screen, right? So anyway, how I kind of survive and expand and excel is by experiencing dreamland all the time. Right? And I don't do drugs or I don't self-medicate. I don't, all I do is the only liquid I drink is coffee and water. And so anyway, what dreamy dreamland is that slice of ether between dimensions, right? And I do my best, right? That motivates me to do my best in everything I do, whatever I do, it motivates me to do my best. And so, and every day and every way, I take a piece of the earth and make it stronger. Right? I serve love's co-creation.
Why are we playing games?
And that's why
You're like,
I'm an artist in the first person. Everything I do artistic. And that's why I'm successful in everything I did. Whether I was, an electrician, or I was a physical therapist, or a psychotherapist, or a legal consultant to the desperate lawyers. I always did my best. And so when you do your best, you cut out all the chatter. And all around me, all you hear is chatter. Right? And I want to thank you all because my bank account I have $7, right? And I'm living on that until someone puts some more money in my PayPal. Right? Even though I am conscious of where I am, I'm still, my avatar is still in this material world. I still need to. I haven't gone anywhere because I basically didn't afford the gasoline. So a friend of mine gave me $20, so I put $20 in the tank so I could come here and talk to you. Now I'm very blessed that my friend, a neighbor, who wrote to me, allows me to sit on his deck or in his driveway and use his Wi-Fi. And that's a good neighbor, right? So anyway, so there were 3 people and 2 left, right? But see, you have to realize it's not just the story I'm telling, right? It's the energetics. Why I'm here is because I knew those jabbering little monkeys over there would be there. And there's always the ever-present elevator music, right? And this is the material life, This is what is confounding the human race. This is what's pushing us off the cliff like lemmings. And there's no reason to have wars in Yemen. We back in 2000, whenever that was, 12, 13, 11, whenever it was, when we went after Muammar Gaddafi. He served his people well. He gave them a good life, education, a house. He didn't spend his money on weapons. He used and all his oil. He made a lot of money out of oil because of 2 things. One, he had some of the best oil. It's called Gaddafi crude. It didn't have to be processed as much as others, right? It didn't have to be cracked. It didn't have to be processed. Right? So But you know, but when you can be quiet yourself down and have that presence of love's co-creation, then you can do whatever you want. That's when you have conscious intent. So, so anyway,
I'm on still there. Oh yeah, this
Ba ba ba. Buddy, you're watching. I'm gonna send you my novels today. Go visit my computer guru, and
Hi, I'm Nicole Hoffman from Sandy Hook Promise. I know this is hard to hear, but it's important.
Announced that Ukraine will be assisted by a new military aid of around 95 million euros. Swedish Foreign Minister Ann Linde announced the help on her Twitter account, saying Ukraine will be assisted with 4 support packages. Sweden will send 12.7mm anti-aircraft to Ukraine, including ships, anti-tank weapons, and ammunition. The aid, which includes these 4 support packages, also includes financial contribution to the Ukrainian armed forces. The total amount of assistance is more than 95 million euros. Russia's war against Ukraine must stop. The Swedish government announced on May 25th that it would send new military aid to Ukraine. Ukraine was informed that there would be high military support and that the nature of the support would not be explained due to privacy. Sweden had previously sent 5 anti-tank weapons, 5 steel vests, 5 military helmets, and enough ready food for at core 135 soldiers to Ukraine. Russian soldiers, who claim to have been hungry and drugged since the beginning of the war, have been in front of cameras and rebelled against Russian President Putin. In a video that resonates widely on social media, the company commander noted that the senior commander interpreted complaints as sabotage and said, "What is the gain of sending your soldiers to their deaths?" He asked the question. Russia's war against Ukraine on February 24th left 100 days behind, while Russian soldiers, who were sent to Ukraine as a peacekeeping force, were dragged into an unending conflict. Russian soldiers have been on the agenda for several months, complaining of difficulties in Ukraine, disobeying orders, and leaving weapons. The Vogue press has deciphered the Russian military voice records several times, but this time the soldiers appeared on camera at their own request and addressed Russian President Putin. In the images published in Telegram, 113 of the Separatist People's Republic of Donetsk. The soldiers who claimed they were from the Rifles rebelled against Ukraine, saying they were sent to fight on the front lines, but had been cold for months without medicine and food. The company commander, who said his soldiers were not provided with proper equipment and medical care, claimed that men with chronic diseases, who should not be drafted in any way, were thrown into the middle of the war. In a video that spreads rapidly on social media, the commander said, 113. 5 of the Rifles. The infantry battalion was on the front line in the Kherson region of Ukraine. At the time, the staff had overcome cold and hunger, and for a significant period of time we were able to fight without financial support, medical supplies, or food. You can hear him. Stop throwing away your banana peels and do this instead.
Can eating a banana help you lose weight? It turns out the The answer is yes. The only problem is a lot of the nutrients in a banana are actually concentrated in the banana peel. It's true.
It's true.
President of Ukraine Zelensky. Zelensky said that we have to defend ourselves against almost the entire Russian army. He said that all Russian troops were mobilized for the invasion. Russian attacks cannot be stopped. Bad news came from the Ukrainian forces racing against time against the Russian offensive. The war, which started with the order of Russian President Putin, has recently been concentrated in the eastern regions of the country. A flash decision came from Ukraine for one of the cities besieged by the Russian forces. The governor of the region is in Syerodonetsk. Ukrainian forces. Russian forces surrounded the important industrial cities of Syerodonetsk and Luhansk and attacked these cities. Describing the situation in the region as very difficult, President of Ukraine Zelensky declared that the army lost between 60 and 100 daily.
The leading news of the day: Ukrainian troops prevented 5 Russian attacks in the Donetsk and Luhansk region. We are here with the last-minute developments of the Russia-Ukraine war. The Russian attack, which started on February 24, continues unabated. The Russian army, which has tried its best to seize the most of the regions in Ukraine since the beginning of the offensive, has recently begun to fail as it has forced a stronger Ukrainian army. The Ukrainian army, which had more technological and powerful equipment with the support it received from the West, achieved great success in the defense line against the Russian army. This situation severely damaged the morale and motivation of the Russian army. According to a breaking news today, the Ukrainian army successfully repelled 5 Russian attacks in the Donetsk and Luhansk region. During the defense, the Ukrainian army destroyed 5 tanks, 3 artillery systems, and 2 armored combat vehicles of the Russian army in the Donetsk and Luhansk directions. Air defense units shot down 3 Orlan 10 UAVs. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like the video for more breaking news.
Okay. Well, what is that? It's called propaganda. There's a war going on in Ukraine between Ukraine and Russia. Now, those two guys are like cousins, brothers. And historically, Russia has done many, meaning their cultures are very similar. They have the same heroes, the same stories, the same myths. But one tells them from the Ukraine point of view, and the other tells them from the Russian point of view. And the Russian always wants to be the best, right? And what's going on in Russia and Ukraine is a microcosm of what's going on in the world. Those guys don't need to fight; they can get along. And I've been working on this theory since 1988. The real conflict, the real problem. It's not economics. It's not technology. It's not environment. It's none of the above. It's not technology. These are just exemplaries of the real problem. The real problem is the dichotomy of the difference between conditional love and unconditional love. Unconditional love is when we exist in dreamy dreams, when we have all we need. It's like me. I am, people would look at me and say, poverty stricken. This guy should be a millionaire. Well, I'm living like that. I don't have to be, right? And being, living like a millionaire is being in your conscious intent and your conscious awareness. And most people aren't because they're so distracted, like the little monkeys over there with their little Game Boys. A guy questioned me who was just mindlessly eating a sandwich. And he's got like two of them, and he doesn't need two of them. And he's just stuffing them in his mouth. Right? So I had one little bowl of soup, and that's all I need. Right? And that's probably all I'll have all day. Because I don't eat anything. I wake up and I don't eat anything for 2 hours. And then if I'm in the deep green, yes, I'll make something. I'll eat that, and I'll make a pot or something. Right? And I will eat what's in that pot for the next 4 days. I will just keep adding things to it as the days go by. Egg here and there, a little sour cream, whatever, right? And that's what life is. That's when you can live like a millionaire. Don't go past what you got economically. Don't extend. One of the things that is used against the public is credit, right? And because you spend beyond your means, you get addicted to stuff, and you can't help yourself, right? You don't have any control. So just an hour or so ago, I was, at the supermarket, and I'm riding around in the mass consumption cart, and I'm looking around, and all I was going to get was some bottled water, right? Flavored bottled water. The place has, I don't know who makes it or what it is, but it's just water and essence of fruit, right? No sugar, no caffeine, no this, no that, just, right? And it's about $2, a 12-pack. It's the cheapest thing there. So I buy 4 or 5 of them, and then those bottles that comes in, I recycle bottles, meaning I fill them with water from my spring. So I cook with the spring water. I drink the spring water. I add, I'll drink half of one of those bottles with the flavory stuff, and then I will add spring water into that. And that's, so those 2 12-packs that I got will last me a month, right? So $2. So I spent $4, and those bottles I just go glug, and go through all 12 of them. I had this guy come visit me, and he just went through a 12-pack of those things in less than 40 minutes. He just kept drinking and drinking because he was, couldn't control himself. Right? And he had to mass consume. Right? And anyone who is chunky, or the other day, I was waiting for a friend of mine, and she took me out to lunch. And she's really a hoot, really smart lawyer. She's probably the best lawyer. I mean, she is one of the, by far, world's notorieties on admiralty law. And what is admiralty law? He said, well, it's a thing that owns you. Whenever you drive around the country and you go into little towns or counties, you'll see a sign, welcome to such and such, incorporated village, incorporated county, incorporated state. What does that mean? What is incorporated? It means it's a corporation. And through admiralty law, that is what has, since 1879, basically, the United States was turned into a corporation. No longer a republic, no longer a constitutional democracy. Those are just fictitious figments, right? And a guy named Albert Pike, who is over there in Scotland, the Scottish Masonic Lodge, and he started the Illuminati, right? And he, through his connections, the Rothschilds, he took over banking and money, and some of them was going, oh, Russia's really great. They don't have a central bank. No, because Mr. Rothschild in the 1700s paid, brought, Mr. Marx and Mr. Engels from a prison in Germany, and brought them and their families to London, put them in a nice house and paid all their bills for the rest of their life. And they created, they wrote Das Kapital. They created communism. What is communism? But capitalism's loyal opposition, because it's an obsolete economic system that just doesn't work, never worked. Anybody who's a socialist country, it's like, and it's always putting you behind the eight ball. But it's put, the World Bank puts people like all the countries in Central America that are socialist. But socialism isn't communism. Communism is conceptually where everyone owns everything, right? And the state owns everything, right? And in the United States, capital owns everything. And in fascism, the corporation owns everything. So the unipolar power structure that has all the time in the world, but it does have to have certain benchmarks, because the murder of Princess Diana was one of those benchmarks. She was, Charles had no interest in her. He had his mayor, what's her name? His girlfriend, and later, after Diana was dead, they married in 2005, I think. But anyway, Camilla Bowles, right? And so the only reason why Diana, she was a sacrificial lamb, and they basically treated her just like, the way they inseminate bulls, And so, Charles didn't really have anything. He only did it because he was told that this is going to be your wife and have children with this woman, and because it's in the stars, it's in the book. It's got to be clipped off. And they picked her because she came from the right bloodlines, right? And she was like almost in destiny for this, right? But she was a smart person, and there were people who watched out for her, gave her the heads up, and when she got married, it was inside the TV series about her life in the royal family is quite good. It definitely gives you the sense of what was going on. But anyway, so they got divorced, and she went off and did her thing, and she did great things. She was against landmines, and she was trying. She had the platform. She went up, and then her being hooked up with Dodi, her father. Dodi's father, one of the richest guys in the world, is part of that unipolar. See, the whole thing about the unipolar control structure is that it's transnational, meaning it's not nationally based. It isn't like Mega, or all the people who are in the unipolar control structure in the United States don't care two hoots about the United States. And anyone's a politician is one of those people. Bill Clinton, he's probably he did more damage to the world than any American president, other than maybe Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson had been president. He just stayed in college. He started Jim Crow. He started, when black people were moving up, they were doing pretty good. And then he just capped them off the knees. That movie, Birth of a Nation, that was all about the birth of a new nation of racism. Right? And again, it had nothing to do with the United States. It's just being done here, right? You see the pictures in that movie? Those guys look like Teutonic Knights. And if you read Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf, and there's two books, 1 and 2, and he basically explains how the real issue of humanity is that there's only, every all the different cultural entities. And then he says, those are races. And they have nothing to do with biology. They have everything to do with social consciousness. And so, and that is like where you came from, you know, what your family believed in, what your holidays were, you know, all those kinds of things, right? And so he said, what the only people who should be living on Earth are the Aryan race. The Aryan race are what are known as in Israel, there is this political group that is, what are they? They aren't the 12 tribes, are the, I'm having an older movement. So, good evening and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland. And I want to thank everyone who sent something to me to my PayPal, and I really, really need it because it kept my bank account alive, and you know, it kept it. Someone sent me $7, and now that's what I got in my bank account. So I could really use some infusion of green energy. So go to PayPal. They ask you who. It's the dudewake42 at Gmail. Dudewake42 at Gmail. Dudewake42 at Gmail. And it works, you know. And I've never heard anyone complain that, you know, their identity was stolen or blah blah blah. Just send me stuff. I live like a millionaire, but I still do need a little green energy every now and then. So, you know, Stan Lee, Marvel Comics, all his comics are he is, you know, I think he's a man who fell to earth, you know. Have you seen the Man Who Fell to Earth? That's on the platform. You can go to YouTube and you can see a few episodes. It's excellent. Excellent, right? The first man who fell to earth was David Bowie, right? I mean, that's, you know, he played that movie in the 70s or early 80s. Did a great job. And this guy does a great job. He comes down, he's a black guy, so you know, he is a man who fell to earth, right? And it's truly, you should watch that. It's so, and that's what media does. Media, see, everything is a shamanic dance, right? So there's, in that shamanic dance, you know, what is shamanism but a world view? And there, you know, good old George Lucas, he sat at the feet of Joseph Campbell for a year and just took notes. And everything that came out of Joseph Campbell's mouth became Star Wars. Because Joseph Campbell was telling George Lucas about how, you know, humans have been around for a million years. There have been other cultures. We were a space-based culture, and our solar system, all those planets that are out there, had and still do have consciousnesses on them. And, you know, the scene where the Death Star blows up that planet, that actually happened. You know, and the Death Star was our moon. Our moon is an artificial satellite. You know? It's the only moon in our solar system that doesn't revolve. It stays in one place and just kind of, you know, and so we only see one side of the moon. We don't get to see the dark side. And so nothing is what you're told. I played a little bit of that stuff about the war because it's propaganda. Because both, you know, it's the war of the two Vlads. You know, the Ukrainian stand-up comedian president, his name is Vlad, and you know, the Russian bagman, Vlad Putin. They're working for the Mr. Global. You know, they are, because by having that war, they've cut third of all the oil off, and that is going to force everyone into in this winter. Everyone's going to be cold. Now, I've lived through 3 winters here, and I have no heat. So, and luckily, where I live, I live in a rainforest. So yeah, it snows every now and then. Yes, it gets cold. But the 3 winters that I've lived through here, the average during the day is somewhere in the 40s or 50s, and at night the average is somewhere between the high 30s and the low 20s, and that's it, And maybe 10 days of the winter, it goes below 20, right? But not for, weeks on end, a few hours at night, right? And then it goes up to maybe 30 something. And I can live with that, I just put on another sweater. I wear socks, and I got a really nice deep woods sleeping bag that, I get in there, pull it over my head, breathe into the sleeping bag, and that keeps me warm. That's it. So, see, all of these issues are not that big a deal for me. Right? And but for those kids that were little monkeys who were on their Game Boys, and one kid couldn't. He got up and went and looked for his mom every 2 minutes, and he had no self-reliance. He had no self-awareness. He wasn't in the shadow of his parents, and he got scared. And they stayed right there. You can see him, and she put him here, and she was just getting her stuff. So everything's a microcosm of everything else. So just look around and see your world. I live out there in the middle of no man's land, woods, and constantly I am shown things that are everywhere. I mean, take this whole thing, all of these gun holocausts in the United States. Well, I lived in New York City in the 70s, and in my neighborhood, on the Lower East Side, in Alphabet City, and my other neighborhood in the South Bronx, totally gang run, and there were 5 murders a week in just my neighborhood, like 3 blocks this way, 2 blocks that way, for 10 years, because New York City went bankrupt. They fired half the police one day, and they had 30 cops, and then they had 10,000 cops, and they got rid of the sanitation department, and not the whole thing, but cut it way down, cut everything way down. Right? So. And to see New York in that state was unbelievable. But on the other side of it came out really great stuff, The level of cultural and human interaction was mind-boggling. Of course, we all helped each other, right? And that's why we took over. I was living in abandoned buildings, and I saw all these homeless mommies with kids. I mean, they had been living in rent-controlled apartments, and the city went bankrupt, couldn't do it. And so the city closed down more than 1 million apartments and put people on the street, gave them no assistance whatsoever. And that's the United States. What is the most, the country that has the most guns per capita per citizen? What country that is? Here in America, we have 300 million citizens and 400 million guns. Is it America? No. Most armed country in the world, too. Sweden and Switzerland. Right? Every person, boy and girl, at 16 in both those countries goes into the army. Spends that summer, between their junior year in high school and their senior year in high school, and they go up to central training, boot camp, right? And they learn it, and the guys figure out what these people. What they're good at. Some guys are good foot soldiers, some guys are good sailors, some guys are good mechanics, and some guys. So they test everyone, they train everyone, but they give everyone their own gun, and they give them a military grade, automatic, which is known as a long gun, And so And a real military, AR-15 is a deadly gun. It shouldn't be given to citizens, especially the ammunition where the bullet tumbles, because when that bullet hits a body, it chews it up like a chainsaw. Whereas it's a bullet that was just going like this, it would just go through you. And if you're lucky, it wouldn't hit anything important. Just put a hole, right? But the bullets that tumble chew you up, right? And so in Sweden and Switzerland, everyone goes into the army. Everyone gets a gun. You get a gun. That serial number is on that gun. The forensic dynamic of that gun is documented, and it's attached to its owner for the rest of its life. So if that gun does something bad out in public, they come looking for you. So that's why there is no gun violence in Sweden, and you can't buy a gun there. It's given to you. You get a long gun and a automatic. And both those guns are with you for life, right? And if anything happens hinky with those guns, they come looking for you. So that's how it works. If we did that, everyone in America would have a gun, and people wouldn't go, wiping out whole fourth grades, So going after the innocents. And I would say that all these people who do this are Manchurian candidates. Someone has, they're called lone gunmen, so all these, And so, I've been a shrinky guy, and I've worked in schools. I've always been a researcher. So I worked on this program called the STAR program, where in the late 70s, after we went through, the United States went through depression, oil embargo, all of that, right? And why did the oil embargo happen? Wasn't OPEC. OPEC was based on a Rockefeller organizational structures and the Seven Sisters, right? So all the oil everywhere is owned by this oligarchic, omnipolar, globalist agenda, right? And everyone in all the different countries is just allowed to think that they're a Frenchman or a German or American or English or Canadian. No, they're all slaves, all under martial law. I mean, we're on martial in the United States. We're under martial law. That's what Homeland Security and the Patriot Act. But before that, we had the National Defense Act in 1947 that basically took all freedom away. Period. Right? It started, COG, continuation of government. Go look that one. And what's it done? Deep underground military base. What did Elon Musk buy last year? He bought a company that has machines that can bore through anything and go down 1,000 feet and make a underground facility for 1,000 people to live. Right? And they want to bring back uranium-based nuclear power, right? Which will just make more weapons-grade fissile material and have billions of tons of extremely toxic waste, be toxic for millions of years. If they use thorium, and what is thorium? But seawater, they could have nuclear power using thorium that has no nuclear waste whatsoever. France uses it. Now, they don't advertise it much, but that's their 80% of their electricity comes from thorium-based nuclear power. So the issues aren't technological. They're not political. They're not economic. All of those things. David Icke has this little thing, problem, action, solution. These are all big problems that are manufactured, and we're being forced to accept action with action, and we have to live under the solution. Part of this, for the globalists to succeed, they have to go to the Georgia Stones. You see what they said. They say, by the year 2050, the human race has to be down to somewhere between 1 billion and 500 million people. We have to kill the other 4.8 billion people. This time next year, we will have about 1 billion people who have starved. Already, there's close to 1 billion people who are, food challenged. They're like starving, and they're just getting enough calories just to stay alive. Now with the war in Ukraine, and the Ukrainian-Russian breadbasket, most of the food that went, all the wheats and grains that went to Africa and South Asia and the Middle East came from there. Right? And a good 40 to 80% of the fertilizers came from Russia or more. This is being done on purpose. And oops, China is locked down for the last 2 months, so they haven't produced anything, right? So he thought the supply chain was whacked before. So, that's kind of what's, going on. And I've been talking about this, as of May 18th. This is my 4th year of doing this. And it's interesting, I kind of went viral when I first appeared on Johnny Boy's channel. And then he was too freaked out that people just wanted to listen to me and not him talk about his losing weight. And, I keep reiterating that John is the canary in the coal mine, right? And he's like a sweet boy. That's what John is, a sweet boy. Let's see if our friend Fish is.
Hey.
There she is. What's
How are you?
Oh, pretty good. Out there in the woods, being surrounded by the rich, this corporation paid off the politicians to get $10 million to bring fiber into us. We're supposed to have expanded the bandwidth for the poor people, but they just brought it into the new rich people's gated communities, right? And the rich people didn't want to see big cell towers everywhere, so they just put little boxes on the 5G boxes on the power poles in the neighborhoods, and they're all wired up to 5G. So anything below 5G, the box doesn't, go on. So where I used to be kind of able to maybe get a phone call out of there, not really, not unless the rich people aren't there. Meaning, rich people, if their fancy 5G phones aren't pinging off these little boxes, then they will, go down to the 4G, and then I can make a phone call. But so I've been incommunicado, and so that's why I haven't really talked to you in a while. So what is your take on the supply chain, on the effect of China being locked down, and the effect of, so you're at the gas pump, is that where you're at?
No, I'm actually driving on the interstate. I just left one of my clients' facilities.
So China and the war in Ukraine. What do you think is going on there?
Well, I think it's a bunch of hoopla. Is really what I think. I think they are really wanting to, and I've never been one to get on the conspiracy theory, but I swear I think they're working through a whole new world order for real this time.
For real this time.
I mean, if you watch the Queen's Jubilee, You know, she couldn't be there today. She's 96. You know, the British people don't want the monarchy anymore. Scotland is wanting to leave the EU. Ireland is wanting to be one united country. And they've got the vote. China still wants zero COVID, which is obviously stupid.
Right. Not
Because
gonna work.
COVID's upticking daily.
Right.
So,
And it really doesn't kill people. Meaning, if you're in good shape and you're not an old guy like me that has problems, you know, it's just like getting a cold. And old guys like me, you just kind of protect them. That's all. And China sure isn't protecting their old people. They want to get rid of them. And and the same is the story. What's truly amazing where I'm at. So the rich people are coming in and buying up everything. And so the old people who had these little farms, they have no place to go. They can't, they'll get maybe $200,000 for their little house, but they can't buy anything else. And there is no affordable housing anywhere. And there is no, there used to be places for old people to go and, wait out to die. They don't have those anymore.
yeah, and it, to me, it's rather sad that they don't, so, I mean, like here, people are being priced out of the housing market, period.
Right.
So, people from California, New York, and places like that, just like up there, are moving here.
Right.
And, they're selling their houses out there for $1.5 million and coming here and paying, $500,000 for a house that really isn't worth $500,000.
Right.
Well, people that live, in this area, they can't afford that.
Right.
So people are having to move further and further and further out of town. But what's sad is the older people you're talking about who have the properties or whatever don't always have the wherewithal or anybody to advise them, hey, you really should get more money than what you're selling your stuff for.
Right.
If you're selling, example, in my neighborhood, I am in the county, surrounded by a city. But one neighbor sold 50 acres for this was like, I don't know, probably 6 or 8 years ago, for $6.6 million.
Right.
Today, that same 50 acres, that could have got 3 times that amount.
Yep.
But, and what they do, they put up a damn warehouse.
Yep.
And people are not staying. Like one of the sites I just left, they can't keep people over there. Nobody wants, I think they were talking, Musk put out that text about, or tweet, I don't know, about, hey, y'all need to come back to the office.
Right.
Well, these people that work in these factories or plants or truck drivers or grocery stores, all of those folks have been doing it now since 2019. They've been going to work every day.
Right.
But you can't keep people to work.
Right. So you know what I'm thinking? I think this is being done on purpose. So they have the technology to bring robots, right? And Japan has robots that look just like human beings. I mean, it's not like
they're freaky.
They're freaky. And those robots aren't just for sex. I mean, they can do anything. Not just have sex. They can be the cashier. They can work on the factory line. So my sense is that everyone is going to be replaced. Mostly everyone will be replaced by a robot. Anybody who has a job that's repetitive, and people who are lawyers and doctors and people like that who think they're really hot stuff, their job is severely repetitive. I mean, they're going to be like the first guys, and truck drivers and, truck drivers. Oh, they'll never be able to replace me because no robot's going to be able to back up. I don't know. I had a friend of mine like 10 years ago who had a Mercedes that could park itself. And that was 10 years ago.
Yeah, there are a lot of cars that do that, that can still do that.
Yeah, exactly. So that technology is there. And when they, push the economy against the wall and say, oh, we just can't find anyone to work, like tomorrow, there'll be robots giving your latte at Starbucks,
Yeah, that's true.
And then ask you if you want to have sex.
Everything's automated, and the whole baby food shortage,
Right.
and I'm a Coca-Cola drinker,
Right.
and used to. Now, back in just say 4 months ago,
Right.
I could walk into the dollar store. I could buy 2 cases of Coke for $9. 24 Cokes, $9.
Right.
Yeah, you can get them cheaper, a little bit cheaper at Walmart. So I was like, who wants to go there?
Right.
So go to the dollar store. Well, now, and sometimes they'd be 3 for $12.
Right.
And that was like a deal. Well, now it's 2 for $12.
Right.
And then over at my office, there's some stray kittens.
Right.
And I feed them. Well, normally I buy like a 12, I think it's a 12-pound bag, I don't know. At the dollar store for like $12.
Right.
Well, today it was $13.
Right.
And it's the same cat food that I bought like a month ago. The same brand. It's the same brand. It's not a store brand, but you know what I'm saying. It's done went up $1. Last night I was ordering cat food for my house because I have a senior cat who's like 20-something.
Right.
So he needs soft, mushy food. And, they have this place called Chewy's, and it's a lot cheaper than Walmart's, and they deliver.
Right.
So I had done that, and I was looking at some other stuff. And in the, 20 minutes that I was, looking at other stuff to add to my cart,
The price went up.
the price went up, and I was like, it's been 20 minutes, and it went up $1 a case. And I was like, really? So, I don't know.
I mean, it's like we're in some kind of movie, right? It's like you couldn't write this stuff,
Yeah, no.
So we're just being, and we're like a Gumby. You press us one place and something, it's like the only way that this can stop is if people say no. I mean, the people around the Floridians in California come here and buy all these guns. And say, if they come from our guns, they're coming, going to find a really, lots of bullets. And I said, buddy, just because you got an AR-15 doesn't mean that means anything. Because if they want to get rid of you, a drone will fly over and hit you with a missile. They won't even send a car, because everything is what's cost effective, to send 20 guys out to get you, that costs this amount of money. To have a drone to fly over you and drop something on you, that's a lot cheaper. So whatever is the cheapest, quickest, easiest, I mean, and the technology is there. Anyone who experienced the Afghani war, the Iraqi war, and it's still going on. I mean, those things are flying around, taking out people,
Yeah, I am mixed on the gun thing.
I'm not saying no. I'm not saying that it's bad to have a gun, right? Like, as I was saying earlier in this chat, I asked the audience, so what country on this planet has more guns per capita? And I said, is it America, where 350 million have 400 million guns? You know what country has the most guns per capita? Sweden, Sweden and Switzerland, because every kid who's 16, boy or girl, goes to the army for the summer and gets trained. And every kid gets their own long gun and their own automatic pistol. And the number on that gun is like tattooed on you. So if that gun does a crime or shoots somebody, they come looking for you. So, and those guns have this technology. When the bullet comes out of the barrel, a little laser beam puts a number on it saying this bullet came from this gun. So, and that's why Sweden and Switzerland are more armed than any country on the planet, but have no, murders or very, very few murders with guns. Everyone has one, but no one's getting shot. Meaning, so everyone could have a gun in America, and they should, but it should be controlled like that. Meaning, there's a technological fix for everything, If
they could be, but I have a friend who can 3D print them and make them. Shit ain't legal. Well, it ain't legal here.
Right.
But in my state, it's legal in his state.
Right.
But I don't know. God forbid the government does try to come and get everybody. I had this exact conversation last night with my family.
Right.
Because my daddy is like, goes nowhere without a gun.
Right.
Has probably 2 or 3 on him at any given time.
Right.
He has been trained to use them.
Right.
But he has a ton of guns.
Right.
He built a whole room. It's the gun safe. It's a whole room. It's like 6 by 6 cinder block with a fireproof door. Huge room underground that he keeps all of them in.
Right.
But I said, God forbid they try to come and get them, because he has more guns than the police will.
Well, like I said, the bottom line, they would just drop a bomb on them,
Yeah, but I mean, again, he lives across the street from me. It's not like he's far out in the country.
Right.
There's a lot of people that live dead up in the inner city, and most handguns are what kill people.
Yes.
A 9mm cannot blow your lung out of your body. I'm sorry, it can't. It will tear your lungs up, but it's not, Biden got on there and said all this crazy stuff, but, I don't know. I don't know where I stand. Just don't come and get I don't know. I have a gun sitting right here with me.
Right. Well,
Well, it's in my pocketbook, but,
my experience with weapons, and I was like, I worked for a housing authority in New York City in the 80s when crime was through the roof. I mean, compared to today, there's nothing going on compared to what was going on in the 70s and 80s in New York. Anyway, so my experience was I was in very dangerous situations and, like in the middle of gunfights. And usually the only person, I only got shot once in the middle of one of those situations, but I wasn't ever hit because I was never a threat. Everyone knew I didn't have a gun and that I was just there trying to negotiate peace. And so I wouldn't get shot. So people know that why waste a bullet on this guy when he's not a threat, right? And so, and statistically, that is kind of the case. The majority of the people in America who die of a gun, they eat their own gun, right? That's the majority of the deaths from guns, right? The thing about long guns, like the gun that the kid used in Texas to kill 19 little kids, that gun was shooting ammunition that tumbled. And you know about bullets that tumble, they're like a buzzsaw, right? And it if you just have a high velocity bullet, and it hits you. If you're lucky, it doesn't hit any organs. It's just a through. You just have a hole in you, and your body heals up. But if you get hit by one of those tumbling bullets, it chews you up like a chainsaw.
Yeah, that's what I have hollow points in mine.
Right.
Not by my choice. My daddy gave them. But so yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Right. So
I don't know exactly what the correct name is for them, but
you know what I'm talking about.
yeah. I mean, I have a Glock. It's not a Glock. It's a 40.
Right.
A 40 caliber.
Right.
Taurus. Yeah.
Right.
That I legally purchased. Did the background check
Right.
at a gun show.
But
all
now
that
your
good
state,
jazz.
you don't even have to do that now in your state. Everyone can, have a
Oh
gun.
yeah, no, which thoroughly pissed me off
Right.
because
You had to go through all of that.
yeah, well, 3 years before they did it, I went and took the class and paid over $200 and something to get my license.
But
my,
in reality,
training and stuff.
it was well worth it because you got the training and all that stuff. Anyone who just buys a gun and then goes use it, they're a moron, So, but the thing about this thing with the 19 babies who got blown away, he used a gun that had the tumbling bullets, right? And it so chewed those kids up they couldn't identify the bodies. All the parents showed up in the civic center, and they had to do DNA testing to match the
Oh yeah, because I was watching the news when one of those daddies he said he had been out of town.
Right.
I think I was watching Fox. It must have been Fox. Because I tend to watch it at 4 o'clock every day. But anyway, he was on there and he was talking to somebody else and he hadn't heard anything and he was waiting. Well, it turns out his daughter was one of the 19 that had died. But it was sad because he didn't know. He was a single dad or whatever, and he didn't know. He just didn't know.
Right. So I mean, that's how, and that is the bad stuff. So my sense is that all of this stuff that's going on. I mean, and now there's one of these shootouts like every other day now. Not like every for a year, but now every other day. And it seems to me it's being orchestrated to force the public to disarm. And it will see it's I mean, the president gave the speech last night, and basically they want to have a civil war. They want a good portion of the population to be like my moron neighbor, who's gonna go toe to toe with a military armed group of people, so they don't take his guns. And he's got 6 kids, right?
Yeah.
And so he's going to put them all in. Like I said, they'll just drop a bomb on them, And they did that in the 80s in Philadelphia. There was this group that I knew relatively well. It was called ARM. And it was a bunch of black folk who were doing what we were doing, taking over abandoned buildings and housing homeless people. Well, they were black and we were white. So we just got, legal hassles. The police went and really hassled them. And because these guys wouldn't be kowtowed, the Philadelphia police dropped a ordinance out of a helicopter and blew the building up. And it was a windy day, and the building just doesn't blow up. It caught fire, and that fire took out 600 other apartments. It put close to 15,000 people on the street. And no one really talks about that. I mean, that was, and that's basically what my neighbor is talking about. That, what happened to those people, because they had guns and you're not taking our guns. And so they dropped the thing out of a helicopter, blew the place up and killed about 40 people. And about 20 of them were under 5 years old. And then the fire took out all, put like 15,000 people on the street and killed another 400 or 500 people. And it didn't
Yeah.
really, you didn't see that on Fox News.
No. Well, I don't even think probably Fox Telly. I don't think was even around then.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, there are good things about the gun. There are bad things about the gun. I think right now the country, well, not just this country, the whole damn world
Right.
was locked up, and people. I interact with people now. Well, obviously, again, these people have been working nonstop.
Right.
But then you'll go to some places or restaurants and people are like, oh no, we're gonna hug, or example, just I'm at another customer's site right now, but yesterday a new gas station opened. It was much needed because there was nothing out here. But anyway, everybody and their mama in the whole town, like if you wanted to commit a crime yesterday morning was the time to do it, because every cop in town that was on duty was at the gas station opening, including the chief, and I know him personally. I walked in because they was giving away free stuff. Who's going to pass up free stuff? So I made a special trip up here just to get the free stuff. But anyway, I ran into the chief and I hugged him. But then there was some people in the store that had on masks.
Right.
And were looking at us like we were crazy. And he's black and I'm white. And, I don't know, but I've known him all of,
For a long time.
now.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and he's a preacher too.
Right.
He was the preacher at my grandma's funeral. I mean, he's a close family friend.
Right.
But I hadn't seen him. But yeah, people are weird. People are weird now. But and it was because they were forced to stay in their houses. Now, I think here in the South or in Texas or places where people aren't living all up on top of each other, like the inner city, New York. I was watching something the other day on something, I think it was ABC, and everybody had on masks still. And I was like, really, people? It's like they're still super scared.
Yes, they've been injected. They've been injected with fear. Right?
Yeah.
They're not infected with a virus. They're infected with fear.
Yes, and you see it really bad in the big cities.
Yeah.
The bigger cities where people have just lost their damn minds.
Right.
Now, I don't know what was wrong with that boy in Texas.
Well, I'm saying that I think all of those characters like him are have been picked up, have been rewired in their head to go off. I mean, I'm going total Manchurian Candidate on this, and that there are a lot of people who are just susceptible to that. It's not they don't have to be picked up and played with. There's shit coming over the TV screen, over their Game Boy, over their phone, that if you're susceptible to it, it can twiddle your brain,
That's an excellent point, and I'm gonna tell you this story. And so the internet, obviously, I was around before the World Wide Web.
Right.
I'm a Gen Xer, so I know how to count change and be respectful. I'm not like all these other folks. But anyway, but the internet, the TikToks, the Twitters,
Right.
even the YouTube,
Right.
have Instagram, Facebook, to only be able to sit and watch like 30 seconds or
Right.
maybe a 1 minute video. I have a coworker, and he watches a lot of those clips. They're short, 30 seconds. And so last week, I typed in something about, I don't know, build your own houses or whatever, and it was some Asian people, and I'm not assuming where they were from. I just know they were Asian.
Right.
They had sticks. Let me tell you, when I say sticks, they had sticks with little blades on the end of them. Just YouTube, make houses out of nothing. They dug down in the dirt, made, big elaborate swimming pools and stuff.
Right.
We spent him and I. Now, of course, I had to put it on speed, like 2.0, the fastest speed, to keep his attention. But I sent him something last night that I had saw that it was again an Asian person. And the only way I could deduce that is because there was some Asian writing. But they were making like cake toppers out of dough. They were making fish. They were making dragons. It was really neat, and it was like a 5-minute video. And this man or woman, because it never showed, it just showed the hands and the person doing it. But anyway, they were very creative. I mean, they made chickens and ducks and birds all out of dough to put on top of the cake. And when I got to work or to the office this morning, he said, what did you send me? I'm like, just watch it. And he was like, it's too long. Just tell me. And I was like, really? So, I think now they have that problem in China. They have that problem in Korea.
Right.
Maybe not so much North Korea. They have that problem in Japan. But they, of the internet, when I say problem.
Right.
We have it really bad here. I mean, everybody has the internet. Everybody has YouTube. Everybody is, But apparently these Asian people, they have very creative minds. And I think that is what we, as a society, have lost.
Right. And one of the reasons I think that is that most Asian countries are the households are multi-generational. You live there with grandma, your parents, your brothers, your sisters, and lots of other people. And so everyone, instead of being siloed individually into their own screen, they're all talking and they make dinner together,
Yeah.
So grandma teaches, mom teaches, everyone kind of learns, and the same thing with grandpa and dad teach you how to fix the car and how to fix the light switch and all of that. So they're not always, I can't do anything. I have to go, I have to go to Lowe's and have somebody to tell, it's like, give me a break. And that is the real, we have lost our community. That's what it is, right? And that's why people are so ready to wear the mask, because they have lost their communities. Where you were there at the gas station and you hugged the chief of police because he's part of your community. You're not scared of him, right?
Right.
So that's the. So yes, we are, and see what's interesting about all of this. This has been going on forever. This ain't something.
It has.
It's not something new. I mean, this was going on before the internet. Back in the 50s when I was a kid. They were saying that TV was the end of, the terrible thing, and it was.
Yeah, it was. And I got I'm like Rose Nyland today. Bam, I got the story. Anyway, we spent our summers with my grandma, me and my sister, and then sometimes my other cousins, I had 4 other cousins, worked. She worked for the school, so she was off during the summer, just like we were.
Right.
Every morning when we got up, we were up, I don't know, early.
With the sun. You were up with the sun.
Yeah, we were up with the sun, and we could watch TV, and we could not wait to get outside. And my grandma had this rule that we all had to come in between noon and like 3 every day.
So you wouldn't
because
get
that's the hottest part of the day.
right. You wouldn't get barbecued.
Yeah, and so we would do everything under the sun to push out. We would stay far away from the house. So we couldn't even hear her hollering, and I mean, when it's in the summertime.
Yeah, you were being a kid.
Yeah, and we could not wait till 3 o'clock came, and then we were back in at dark, and we would eat, watch maybe a little bit of TV, and then we were in bed. The most TV that I can remember watching in any given time would be between those hours in the summer, because she'd be watching her stories, the soap operas.
Right.
She'd be in the living room watching her stories, and we'd be back in the back bedroom in the air conditioned, watching a little, 13-inch,
Black and white
color
TV.
Well, it was black and white in the beginning. Then she got a color one. She still couldn't get a bigger one.
Right.
But anyway, with the dial. And my big mama, which was my great grandmother, she was in a wheelchair. She had a remote control. I still have it. But at my grandma and my nanny's house, my grandma's, we were the TV chaser. But today, you can't get the kids up before noon.
Right.
You can't get them outside for nothing.
Right.
I think I told you once before, I had a pool in my backyard that I got for the kids. And then they were like, no, we'd just rather stay in front. I went out there and took a knife to it and drained all the water and cut it up. Because I got tired of fooling with it. I was, keeping it from turning green.
Right,
and
right.
getting the bugs out
Right.
and stuff. And they wasn't using it. And they weren't teenagers.
Right.
We're talking like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds, and they were done with the pool.
Right.
When we were kids,
Yes.
we loved the pool.
Yeah, I was always in it myself.
We stayed all day. I mean, I didn't grow up with one,
Right.
but we had a creek.
Right.
We was down at the creek. I didn't think nothing about no snakes, and we got them poisonous snakes around here.
Well, baby, I'm gonna go. It's
Yeah,
always
I've
good to
gotta go.
talk to you.
It's getting hot in here too,
Yeah.
and I have the air on.
So,
It's cooler though today, lower humidity.
oh yes, yesterday was pretty toasty. Did you get that big? Did you get that big thunderstorm?
We got it yesterday afternoon.
Yeah,
a big thunderstorm flew in at about 2.
Yes.
So
and
what
we got
time
it.
did it hit you?
Yeah,
About 4, 5?
Right. We had a little blip of one around 3, and then around 6 to about 8 was the big one.
Yeah. So that was the same storm path that came through here then, because yours is always a couple of hours or
Later.
3 or 4 hours later. But yeah, I was so glad it did come through. I
Well,
gotta
my
cut
garden,
yard.
my garden sure loved it. My garden's actually doing pretty good. It's
Oh, that's good. That's good.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of, because we hadn't had a lot of rain.
We had in May and end of April we had a lot, because where I'm at is a rainforest. I mean, you're down in the flatlands, so
We're below our range.
yeah. So we're up in the hills, and it rains all the time. In the last few summers, at least the last 6 summers, it has been really no rain. Really dry summers, and the old time farmers, they had their farms in the hills, but now the farms are run by Monsanto, and and they have all they plant is feed corn, tobacco, and soybeans, and Christmas trees, and none of those
Yeah.
need water. They're genetically engineered. Well, they don't need rain, and but everybody else's stuff is drier and deader than a doornail. And this so far it's been wet, so that's good. But
Yeah.
if it stays hot, hot and dry for another, I don't know, years, we will have the same kind of fires California has.
I think so too. And because your elevation is higher than mine, and you're right, we are, I'm in Middle Tennessee, obviously.
Right.
And it is flat, but like my grass, it's June, 3rd?
Right.
Your grass is not supposed to die until after July.
Right, exactly.
And then you're like, yes, because I should stand, it's not coming back, and I'll mow it one good time after the leaves fall off the tree, and we're good,
Right.
But my yard didn't even, I have a acre yard that it was already, I was actually having to, well, I wasn't doing it, but I needed to water it. I
Right.
did water, I have some magnolia trees that I put out year before last, and I know they needed some water. So I got buckets out there, so it would trickle.
Right. So
So it poked a hole in it. Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad that it rained because the grass needed it.
Yep.
And you're right, it was very dry. We were having a lot of fires
Right.
here, like on the interstate or whatever.
And those fires are being done on purpose because they want to push everyone out of the country and push them all together.
Yeah,
in
I
housing,
know.
so they can keep an eye on them.
See, that's something that's foreign to me. Now, you coming from New York,
Right.
you're used to people living all up on top of you.
Yep.
I've never lived in an apartment or an apartment complex.
Right.
I've been in.
You stayed at them. But you didn't.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, and I've lived in apartments for, all the different times that I've lived in other parts of the,
Country.
the South, for work. But that's only like 2 or 3 stints at a, 2 or 3, 6 months at a time. I could not imagine spending my entire life with somebody on each side, up and above me. I have 1, 2, 3, like, there's 5 or 6 houses that I can see because I'm a corner house.
Right.
But I couldn't throw a baseball and hit their house.
Right.
And
Well,
I've got pretty good arms,
So
but I couldn't imagine living right up together. And then a fire, all that catches, everybody's house goes up. I just don't understand.
Well, you grow up with something and you're used to it. That's basically it. But anyway, I'm gonna let you go, honey bun.
Yeah, and
And-
I gotta go up here in this hot ass field and ain't got no air conditioning here.
Yeah.
So all the doors are shut. So, all right. Well, it was good talking at you.
Yeah.
And,
I'll talk to you later. I
All
just
right,
wanted to
bye-bye.
reach out when I had some bars here. So
oh yeah. Cool.
So that's my friend, and she's involved in the supply chain. Right? She's a I know her because she's part of the cadre, and but she's did a lot of the same kind of demographic stuff I used to do. But she does it in a big way. I did it like in a scholarly way. She's looking at whole planetary stuff. She's like involved in that. So she's got a good, she's one of the people I call up to get a thumbnail of what's going on. And so a couple other people were calling when we were in the middle of this. Let's see if they are anywhere to be seen. Let's see. If the lucky guy answers the phone. Do, 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 do.
Hey Al, I
Oh.
just got my son back from the pool. What's going on with
Oh, I saw you called, so I thought I'd bounce back at you. I'm doing a live chat, and I was talking to other people on the phone, and they were. I have this one friend. She is in the supply chain business, like in a big way, like planetary. So she really sees kind of what's going on, and she's a nice, wholesome country girl, but's really brilliant, and so. You listen to her, she sounds like an Okie, and she's not college educated, but she's brilliant. So she has this big time job looking at data all the time of what's going on. And her basically, so I call her up and say, so what's going on? And she goes, well, all of these supply chain things are orchestrated. She goes, there is no, you can't, and even though, she said, even with the war, we shouldn't have the oil problems we're having. And so she says things are in a larger picture being held back. So she's one of my go-to people to see what's going on, and you're one of my go-to guys because you're the lucky guy. You're out of harm's way. You have spent most of your life in the middle of harm's way.
Oh yeah.
Either being on a mountain, being a pastor, having to eat dandelions, or living in the Titan, or serving our country, getting blown up. But now you are out of harm's way, and yet you can still see what's going on from where you are.
Well, gosh, I'm happy to hear from you. And this lady, she sounds like a wonderful person.
Oh, she is. She is. She's great. She's great. And just listen to this show later today and kind of zip through the first 40 minutes. And then she called and we talked for about 40 minutes. And she is, she has a real common sense backed up by not like something she heard on YouTube, but that she is actually seeing because she's on the ground, And so that's where I was talking to a number of scholastics last night on the phone, and they're still, if you don't know what, Blinken, he's such a righteous guy. I said, you got to be kidding me. I mean, these people, just because they're in the scholastic world, they think they know what's going on.
Well, they know nothing, and the scholars, they're drinking their own brew.
Yes, they're drinking
what,
their
I
own
just
brew.
got my son back from the pool. I've got to wash him.
Okay, wash him off. Hose him down. Put him in the car wash, and so you take care of yourself,
That's
lucky
a
guy.
great idea, the car wash. I didn't think of that.
I
roll down the window.
Yes.
This would be great.
I had a friend. She had a ton of kids, and I got these dog harnesses for big dogs, and they were all like 6, 7, 8 years old, and it was summertime, and they were all bare-chested, and I had the dog harnesses on them and had leads on them. And they had jumped in mud, and they were like crusted on with mud. So looking around, and oh, look, there's a car wash. So, and it wasn't the one that you do it yourself, with the thing. It was the actual car wash, right? So wait online, pay the guy the money. We're inching up. And so I said, okay, everyone, get on the hood. And so they got on the hood, and that big swirly brush went over them, and we got out, and they were cleaner than, gleaming glass, and no one died, and they thought it was the most fun thing. And when we drove out of there, everyone was like, their mouths were open. And the fact that they had dog harnesses on, I mean, people were, I came out, put them on the leads, put them in the car, and drove away.
Well, that's how you handle something.
Yes, that's right. And it was because they were it was driving my friend crazy because they'd always get outside and go in 8 different directions. She could they'd be down the block before she could figure out which way they went. So I just put dog harnesses on them. Always.
Okay, no, that's cool. That is really cool. Well,
You got to
I
go. I'm going to let you
I
go.
gotta go. But I appreciate the call. Yeah, we're just moving around. It's just things are happening fast. But it's so good to hear from you, Al.
Okay.
And I just got a call from the Israeli embassy. I'll talk to you about that later.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Later tonight or tomorrow. Let's say tomorrow. Okay.
Tomorrow I'll probably work out for the best.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anyway, so that's my buddy, the lucky guy. I mean, he really, he died 20 times. I've died 6 times. He's died 20 times. And that's why we relate pretty well. He's a real military guy who just said, okay, I've had it. He was a pastor. He was ran a church in the poorest of the poor, Appalachia. And, no one gave him any money because he was just working for the poor. If he worked for a rich church, he would have made a lot of money. And then he became a pastor in the military. And if he had stayed in the background with all the majors and colonels, he would have been a major and colonel. But he was on the line in Afghanistan, going out there, because he was also trained as in the Marines as a medic, And so he went out there as the pastor. He had the little crosses, but he was making sure no one died. And he got court-martialed for that. That's the kind of world we live in. So here it is, 1 hour, 42 minutes. When it hits 42 seconds, I'll say goodbye. So I have things to go do. I just wanted to touch base with you. Maybe I'll talk to you later or tomorrow. Depends on whatever. Okay, there it is. I love you guys. Remember, conscious intent I am. Conscious intent I am. Conscious intent I am. And remember, I could surely use some money in the PayPal. Throw some money into PayPal. PayPal. Okay? Love you guys. Bye. The dudeawake42 at Gmail. Dudeawake42 at Gmail. Dudeawake42 at Gmail.